hello, my first grade friends, and welcome back to Library Class at Home with Mr. S. We have been reading My Big Fat Zombie Goldfish Part 2. Yesterday we read 3 chapters, right? We read 2, 3, and 4. Today we're going to read 5, 6, and 7, and we're moving right along. Chapter 5 is Return of the Zombie Toddler. As I ran over to the classroom door to see where Pradeep's mom was, Pradeep hid under the computer table. Fair enough, really. Parents coming into the school when they are not expected is top of the list of the 5 most embarrassing things that can happen to a kid in elementary school. Number 5, the school nurse finds something in your hair but can't exactly tell what it is, so says out loud to the rest of the class, "I'm going to have to take a picture of this one and look it up." That happened to me in 3rd grade. Number 4, your mom mixes up your swimsuit with your little sister's, so you have the choice to go out into the pool stark naked or wearing a 3-year-old's Dora the Explorer bikini bottoms. That happened to Pradeep last year. Number 3, you admit in front of the other boys in your class you think the best Star Wars movie is the one with the cute furry little Ewok creatures. This kid called Ben just before winter break, he never came back to school after that happened. Number 2, your pet zombie goldfish gets loose in the school. That was me today. And number 1, your mom calls you precious, lovely, or honey in a loud voice in the school hallway just as everyone is coming out of assembly. That was Pradeep, and also today. I peeked around the door and saw Mrs. Kumar looking into the classroom across the corridor. Kids were sniggering as they walked past, and I could hear whispers of, "Isn't that Pradeep's mom?" "Come along, Samia," Mrs. Kumar called, gently pulling Pradeep's little sister by the hand. "We'll have to take Pradeep's lunch to the office." Mr. Swanson came into the computer lab, followed by a load of kids, so Pradeep had to get out from under the table. "Tom, they're still online," Pradeep said as he sat down at the desk. "If we can track down which computer in the school they're using, then maybe we can shut the website down." Pradeep's hand tapped away at the keyboard at the speed of light. "I got 'em," Pradeep said. "They're in the science lab upstairs." "That's not fair," I said. "That's where Mark told us he was going to be, and he usually lies, so that's the last place I would look." "Actually, when you think of it that way, it's pretty clever," said Pradeep. Then we looked at each other. "Must have been Sanjay's idea," we both said together. "I'll head up and recon what they're doing in the lab," I said to Pradeep. "We'll keep in contact with clicks. There's a button on our walkie-talkie for tapping out Morse code." Pradeep and I haven't actually learned the real Morse code yet, so we do different tunes with the clicks to say how we are going. If everything is fine, we click short, short, long, short, short, long, short, 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 long, to the tune of Jingle Bells, because it's a happy song. If it's an emergency, we click long, short, 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 long, long, to the end bit of Ring Around the Rosie, because it seems like a happy song, but it's really about the plague, which is a pretty major emergency. I got another bathroom pass from Mr. Swanson. He must have thought I had serious bladder problems, and headed out into the hall. Just as I reached the staircase, I heard a familiar voice. "Swishy little fishy," Sammy chanted as she skipped along the hall in front of Pradeep's mom. I looked at Sammy. Her eyes stared through the display board on the wall and up my left nostril. The zombie stare. Frankie had hypnotized Sammy again, so he must be close by. "Ah, Tom," Mrs. Kumar said. "The secretary told me that Pradeep would be in one of the classes up here doing computer things. Do you know which one? I've brought him his lunch." Sammy was holding Pradeep's teddy bear lunchbox, the one he keeps trying to lose or destroy, and his mom keeps finding or fixing. He even let the school bus run it over, but it still didn't break. I bet in 1,000 years' time, archaeologists will find Pradeep's teddy bear lunchbox still intact, with his mom's super plastic wrapped samosas inside. Sammy opened the lunchbox's lid just a crack, and there, inside, swimming around in his plastic bag, was Frankie. I quickly slammed the lid shut. I can take this lunchbox to him," I said, trying to grab it from Sammy. "Swishy fishy," she pouted and held on tight to the handle. "Okay, maybe Sammy can bring the lunchbox," I said loud enough so that Frankie would hear me, and just use his hypnotic powers to control her. Just then I saw a flash of white as someone passed behind Mrs. Kumar. It was Mark, still in his evil scientist coat. "Mark!" I shouted, but he'd already run up the stairs. The lunchbox started to shake back and forth in Sammy's hands. Oh, great! Frankie had heard Mark's name and was probably now in full green-eye revenge mode. "Here, let me hold that, Sammy," I said, peeking inside the lid as she let me take it from her. Frankie's eyes were bright green, and his tail whacked hard against the sides of the bag. Why are you shaking Pradeep's lunch? Mrs. Kumar asked. That's the way Pradeep likes it. I smiled nervously. Come on, Sammy, let's get this to Pradeep while it's still, freshly shook. Sammy looked starry-eyed at me, but followed as I headed for the stairs. I'll bring Sammy back down to the office when we find Pradeep, I called to Mrs. Kumar. We ran up the stairs. Mark must have headed for the science lab. Sammy, Frankie, and I would trick Mark and Sanjay into chasing after us. Then Pradeep could sneak into the lab and wipe the website, stopping Bedlam in its tracks. And all before our first class was over. This was going to be easy. I handed Sammy the lunchbox as I opened the science lab door. Soon we stepped inside. As soon as I stepped inside, I knew it was a trap, mostly because a big mosquito net fell from the ceiling and trapped us. Sammy dropped the lunchbox as she fell, and it skidded across the floor. I heard Mark's evil scientist laugh. "Mwahaha! Gotcha," he said. Chapter 6. The Dastardly Trap. Mark and Sanjay stepped out from behind the door. Everything has gone exactly to plan, Sanjay clapped with excitement. We lied our way into your pathetic little school. We tricked you into bringing the fish with you this morning. We made it so easy for my little moron brother to find our website, and then we tricked you into following Mark up here. Yeah, Mark said again. And now you're our prisoner. Sanjay paused. Oh, hi, Sammy, he added. Swishy little fishy, Sammy said, wriggling under the net. Yes, exactly. So, where is the fish? Sanjay asked. I stared at Sanjay but said nothing. Moron, where's the fish? Mark grunted and kicked my leg. I won't tell, I said. Just then, the lunchbox started crashing around on its own on the floor, steadily bumping towards Mark. I think we found it, said Sanjay, reaching down and lifting Frankie's plastic bag out from the lunchbox. Sanjay handed the bag to Mark and picked up his laptop. Frankie was flapping his tail wildly back and forth, and his eyes were glow-in-the-dark green. Mark put on his evil scientist protective goggles and glared at Frankie. Frankie glared back harder. Then Mark turned to Sanjay. So, you got it? He asked, taking off his goggles. Yes, thank you. That was sufficient, Sanjay answered. Cool. Now, we've got the zombie stare, Mark said, tapping the little webcam attached to the side of his goggles. Wicked. Now I can do whatever I want to the fish, right? He added, dumping Frankie out of his bag and into a glass beaker that was sitting on top of an unlit Bunsen burner next to a row of test tubes filled with colored liquid. Don't hurt him, I shouted from under the net, struggling to break free. The moron is right for now, Sanjay said. Let's see if the plan works first before you dispose of that fish. The computer class will all be looking at their screens, so I'll test Bedlam's zombie fish stare hypnovirus on them. Sanjay hit some buttons on his computer, and an image streamed into the whiteboard in the science lab. He must have set up a secret camera in the computer lab. You could see the backs of Mr. Swanson's head, and then all the kids in front of him looking at their computers. Sanjay, Pradeep is in there. What will it do to him? I said. Well, we'll have to see. Sanjay smiled an evil smile and hit send. I watched the whiteboard. The millipedes and cockroaches were now using my stomach as a bouncy castle. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I knew it wouldn't be good. Pradeep was right at the back of the classroom, so I couldn't see his face very well, but all the other kids were staring at their screens and staring like zombies. Then Pradeep's mom walked into the room and started talking to Mr. Swanson, but as soon as she glanced at the computer screen, she immediately stared at the wall and up Mr. Swanson's left nostril. Mr. Swanson was clearly zombified as well. Sammy looked at the image of her mom on the whiteboard. Swishy fishy mommy, she chanted. I think you're right, Sammy, I whispered. Mom, Sanjay said surprised. Oh well, that will keep her out of the way. Result, Mark said, and punched the air. Then he looked confused. That's what it was supposed to do, right, Sanjay? Yes, it works perfectly. We can upload the zombie hypnovirus into any computer, and whoever looks at the screen will instantly be hypnotized into being our zombie fish slave. Then we can program them to do whatever we want. Sanjay attempted an evil laugh, but it came out more like a gasping wheeze. Mark did an absolutely flawless evil laugh. You have to give it to him. Sanjay might have smarter plans, but Mark's got the evil laugh down. So now I can do what I want to the fish, Mark said. Just then I heard a crash of breaking glass. Frankie had knocked the beaker off the tripod and was surfing in the rush of water across the lab bench. His eyes glowed a perfect shade of revenge green. "Stupid moron fish!" Mark shouted, and clambered over the bench toward Frankie. Frankie dodged Mark's hands as they tried to flatten him. The wave was rolling in one direction, toward the sink at the end of the bench. "No!" I shouted. "Swishy little fishy," Sammy squealed. Mark ran to the sink and held out his hands to catch the fish, but Frankie leapt into the air, thwacked Mark around the face with his tail, and did a perfect somersault, diving directly down the drain. If this were an Olympic event in zombie fish diving, he would have so won the gold. "Moron fish!" Mark thumped the bench with his fist. "Ow!" he said, and rubbed his hand. "Oh, get over it, Mark. We have bigger fish to fry." Sanjay smiled at his own joke, but Mark just looked confused. "Bigger fish to fry," repeated Sanjay. Still no reaction. "Oh, never mind," he sighed. "Now we need to keep these two here so they don't mess up stage 2 of Bedlam's plans." "What's stage 2? Mark and I said at the exact same time. "Turning the whole school into fish stare zombie slaves." "Keep up," Sanjay said, "and all the little moron brothers and sisters will do whatever I tell them to. Then who knows, maybe I'll just upload the zombie goldfish virus on the internet. Soon there'll be fish stare zombies everywhere." Sanjay paused again. "Now would be a good time for your evil laugh, Mark." "I'm not in the mood," Mark grumped. "I wanted to hurt that fish, and I'm going to search this school until I find him." He stormed off. "Whatever, I don't need you anyway," Sanjay said. He picked up his laptop. "Now I'm going to have a chat with the principal. I'll be back in a second, so don't go anywhere." Sanjay attempted an evil laugh, but it just came out wheezy again. He pretended he was clearing his throat, then followed Mark out of the lab. Sammy was still looking over at the sink. "Swishy fishy gone," she mumbled. With Frankie gone, Sammy came out of her trance. She didn't look fishy-starey anymore, just kind of sad. "Frankie will be okay, Sammy, as long as we find him before Mark does," I said. "I'm more worried about Pradeep. What if my best friend was now a zombie fish slave?" And that's the end of chapter 6.